So we've been having some pretty cold days. It got bitter cold the last week. It warmed up a little bit, but we're having some pretty cold days. Usually January is our coldest month here on the East Coast anyway, where I live. I know some of you don't live in cold climates, but some of you do. So this video is going to be about those fragrances, the handful in my collection that pierce right through the cold weather. And they are the strongest, and they are the ones that can stand up to the cold weather and just perform so well. In fact, when it's bitter cold, that's when they perform their best. So the top 10 most strong cold weather fragrances that perform the best in really cold weather. So that's what this video is going to be about. Let's jump right in. Hi my lovelies, welcome back to another fabulous fragrance video. Now, like I said, I only selected 10, just a handful, the strongest fragrances in my collection that I think pierce through the cold weather and project and last. Just, they perform the best in the coldest weather, in my opinion. So I want to start with this guy right here. This is actually one that I really didn't explore enough when I first got it. I mean, I should have known. Guerlain is a fragrance house that really knows what they're doing, especially when it's from this particular collection. So of course I'm talking about Guerlain Cherry Oud. So this one I wore several times this winter. And one of the days that I wore this, it was a bitter cold day. We got several inches of snow. It was pretty cold that day. In fact, we took the kids out sledding. You know, they were playing in the snow, building snowmen, and you know, it was a very cold day. And I wore this. I wanted something really strong, and I don't usually, you know, this wasn't my favorite cherry fragrance when I first bought it. I bought it because it's a cherry fragrance and it's from Guerlain. But that day in particular, I mean, I wore this several times this winter. I mean, this is fairly new to my collection. But that day, whoa, this one was cutting through that cold weather. It was like slicing the cold weather right through, you know, and it was projecting, and it just actually blossomed in cold weather the most. It really kind of project and just smell the best. Like, and also I noticed, so this is cherry oud, obviously there's oud in this fragrance. I noticed that it's best in cold weather, not only because it performs best in cold weather in terms of lasting power and sillage and projection, but also in cold weather. The oud in here is a little bit more moderated. I feel like the cherry gets a chance to shine a little bit more when I wear this in the coldest weather. And that day the cherry was sweet and coming right through, and the oud was there, but it wasn't competing with cherry, and it was absolutely beautiful that day. And because it was bitter cold, when you just smell this out of the atomizer when you first buy it and it's not a cold day, you'll find this to be a little bit too much. It would almost be a little bit offensive in a way, because the oud is quite strong as the cherry in here. But you just won't understand this fragrance if you don't wear this in super cold weather. Like if you wore this like in warm weather, forget it. You are not going to like this. The oud's going to be too overwhelming, and it's not going to perform best. You're not going to smell that cherry. So you get what I mean. I feel like in the warmer the weather, the oud beats the cherry more, right? If that makes sense. And that day, in that bitterest cold, this was just perfect, okay? So if you have this fragrance, you guys, pull this out when it's really cold. And if you happen to live in a warm climate, you still have cold, very cold nights. I know, in fact, no matter how warm a climate is, you're going to experience some really, really cold nights. Okay, so choose to wear this fragrance the coldest time where you live. I'm not going to get into all the notes and accords. Of course, by the way, I forgot to mention, this also has leather. I felt like in the cold weather, I mean, think about it, cherry, oud, and leather. All three notes are notes that really, really shine in cold weather, in my opinion, the super cold weather. The leather was luxurious also in the cold weather. That was helping the cherry shine, and it was very sexy. I actually have two more cherry here that I will talk about here in a minute, but I want to talk about this one right here. Okay, so this is actually something that I do, believe it or not, tend to wear it all year round. But you guys, this will cut right through that cold weather, and people will still smell you on the other side of the room. And that's how strong this fragrance is, but not in any kind of offensive way. That's the difference. So this one is something that will pierce right through that cold weather, and people will be able to smell you. But this is also a fragrance that you can actually wear in fairly warmer weather too. I wouldn't wear it on a hot summer day, but warm weather, relatively speaking, you can wear this because it is such a crowd pleasing, very sort of beautiful scent. I know, like, very few handful of people don't like this fragrance. I can't even understand why, but some people have like olfactory issues, certain things that offend their noses, no matter how beautiful that note is. That's a different story. I'm talking about majority of the people. They're going to find this absolutely beautiful, and it's inoffensive. It's such a gorgeous scent. This is, of course, Maison Crivelli's Hibiscus Majad. You guys, this is, of course, that hibiscus vanilla fragrance. So the hibiscus in here is actually, there's no hibiscus note per se in here. The hibiscus nectar smell that's in here, I think, comes from the rose mixed with the spearmint, mixed with the leather and the big bucket of vanilla. So the mixture of that composition smells like the nectar of hibiscus, and it's absolutely gorgeous. This is a huge compliment getter. I mean, I can smell it from the atomizer over here. One time, I know I was sitting in a doctor's office, whatever, and people from the other side of the room could smell me, and I got compliments. I get compliments all the time on this one. This performs so well in cold weather, pierces right through, still projects, and lasts 12 hours plus. Absolutely strong fragrance, but beautiful. It, obviously a hibiscus kind of fragrance that make you think of summertime, but really it can be worn in super cold weather too. It's like one of those few fragrances that if you want to, like, feel a little bit more or transport you to summertime a little bit more, that's one you can still wear in cold weather that will cut right through the cold weather. And here's another one from the same brand. This was Ombre Chromatique from Maison Crivelli. This one is a smoky one, very incensey. Oh my God, this is a beast, okay? This will just, if you're in a restaurant, the other side of the restaurant will smell you. This got a huge sillage, even in the coldest weather. This has got some beautiful woody and smoky incense notes in here. It is also very ambery, and it has the most beautiful Davana note in here. You guys know Davana is that very sultry herbal note that I talk about a lot. Cypriol oil and Davana oil really make fragrances sultry. That's the word for it, sexy in a very sultry way. Again, this has like pink peppers, incense and Davana and amber and like lots of vanilla with some resin vibe from the benzoin, but I tell you, it just cuts right through the cold weather. It will project in the middle of winter in like below zero weather. That type of fragrance. You want to wear some fragrances like this when it's super bitter cold, because you want them to still, project, right? And not very many can do that. And here's another super beast. This one is actually from Xerjoff. This is Muse, Xerjoff Muse. Although this fragrance has some summer reminding notes, this is in no way a warm weather or summertime fragrance whatsoever. This is a plummy leather fragrance, you guys. That's the best way to put it. It's very plummy and leathery, and it's very sultry because it also has Davana, just like the Amber Chromatique. It has a little patchouli, some fruity notes, some summertime reminding notes like jasmine and stuff. But I'm telling you, it is not, this is a very much a super cold weather appropriate fragrance. The leather note makes it very luxurious. There's like loads of amber in here too. I'm telling you, this is slice that cold weather right through, okay? And people will smell you. It's a very, very strong fragrance. I will only advise you to wear this in bitter, super cold weather, okay? Oh my god, did I mention you guys, for Maison Crivelli, I actually have a special offer for you down in the description box. Go check it out. You know, this is the screen right here, right under there's the word more and 3 dots. Click that, it'll unroll the description box. That's where all the discount codes will be, and also special offers will be. All right, so the other two that I love to wear in super bitter cold weather are these two. This is by Room 1015. This is Cherry Punk and Cherry Punk Extrait. You guys, they are both super cold weather appropriate. They pierce right through cold weather. You can, I get whiffs of this fragrance in the middle of cold weather. This one, the Extrait, is even more piercing than this one. This is that very edgy, sexy cherry fragrance that's inspired by punk rock chick type, you know what I mean, like that very edgy, fashionable fragrance, if you will. This has cherry and leather. That's what this fragrance is. It's super, super sexy, and it leaves a sillage in the middle of winter. People will still smell you below zero weather. Very, very sexy. I only advise you to wear this in cold weather, or at least cool weather. This one, the Extrait, is even more strong. I would say this is Cherry Punk on steroids, This one, you can smell that leather note is even more prominent, very luxurious, very sexy with that cherry note. Absolutely piercing in the middle of cold weather, okay? This is Cherry Punk and Cherry Punk Extrait. I, of course, have a discount code for you guys for that down in the description box. Check it out. And, of course, you guys, this one right here. You guys know about this one. This is Atomic. It is, okay? Yes, this is, of course, Initio Atomic Rose. This one is super strong and piercing, and it just pierces right through that cold weather and go to the, to the person's nose who's like 10 feet away from you. This is very strong. Of course, it has that Bulgarian and Turkish rose notes, pink pepper, and lots of like vanilla and amber. But there's something in here that makes this perfume so piercing. There's something, I want to say something almost like a cutting sour type of note in here too. And then there's something else. I want to say something like leather, but not quite. Maybe a balsamic note that gives it teeth, you guys. It just pierces right through cold weather. It'll leave a sillage in below zero cold weather. It will project and it will last. Atomic it is. And then I have these two from the same house. This is IBK Paris Ruby and Vanilla Entrance. Boy, you guys, this is one of the most strong and permeating fragrances I have in my collection. This is, of course, a vanilla fragrance, but it's more velvet than it is vanilla. Have you guys smelled a brand new velvet fabric? That's what it smells like. A velvet fabric mixed with vanilla. It is the most sophisticated kind of like luxurious scent, you know, very unique, very different from anything I've smelled. It is a bit synthetic smelling. It's by no means a natural smelling fragrance. This one, I just love the way it smells. Like I always want to wear velvet with this, you guys, when I'm going out, when it's an evening out, especially if it's like going to an opera or something. Something about this fragrance, it is just piercing, okay? It will cut right through the cold weather. It'll last, it'll project, it will permeate through the cold weather. And of course, this fragrance from the same house, this is Deep and Desire Yacht. This is a how can I say, a grapey gourmand. Like it's got grape, like a juicy grape note, but this is like this has got some really sticky, dense gourmand notes, dark chocolate with grape and some other really dense gourmand notes. This has got a big hazelnut note too with that chocolate. It's almost like a hazelnutty, grapey fragrance. This has a very unique floral note, camellia, which smells very different. I gotta say, very woody as well. But there's something in here that gives this fragrance some woody notes, I believe. Could even be a slight bit of oud that just pierces. And it has a bit of sharp citrus too right in the opening. So it's very kind of cutting, very piercing, very projecting type of fragrance. Very good for cold weather. In fact, it would be super offensive. This is one of those fragrances that would be absolutely offensive. It's not a crowd pleaser. Not everybody's gonna love this, the way it smells. It is a unique fragrance, and it will only perform its best and smell its best and be non-offensive in super cold weather. You wear this in warm weather, big mistake. I think I talked about everything. Oh my God, I went through 10 fragrances like instantly. Very quick video, you guys. And then here you have my last, like the 10th one. I have more than this in my collection that do pierce through cold weather, you guys, but I wanted to pick the most piercing, most projecting, most, you know, cutting through fragrances for the cold weather time in the year. This is Cocono by Chanel. This, in my opinion, is another one that really kind of slices through cold weather. This is again that got that Chanel citrusy DNA, that sophisticated DNA that Chanel tends to have, like a bit of citrus, bit of earthiness to a lot of their fragrances, and this one is no exception. This one's very dark, very deep, very serious fragrance. Okay, it's very buttoned up, serious, sophisticated, and a little bit vintage smelling fragrance. It's not a youthful fragrance. It's something you wear to be super sophisticated, super business-like. This has citrus notes in the opening. It's got some, you know, rose and geranium, some other like, you know, floral notes, even a little jasmine, I think. But this has some earthiness that Chanel tends to have with that patchouli, which almost all Chanel fragrances have. It's a little sensual from the sandalwood, tonka bean, and vanilla at a nice sweet touch a little bit. It's not a sweet fragrance whatsoever, but it has a little bit of that deep smoky vanilla vibe, and some warm spices like clove. Very serious, very piercing, very sharp fragrance that should be worn in cold weather for it to perform the best, for it to smell the best, for it to be non-offensive. And I wouldn't say it's offensive per se, but it would not be as pleasant if you wore it in warm weather. I find this to be a perfect formal occasion fragrance in the cold weather, you know? So yeah, Chanel Cocono. So you guys, yeah, those are my top 10 super piercing, super projecting, super lasting, cutting through cold weather fragrances I have in my collection. And I love to pull these ones out right in the middle of January, which is when it gets super cold for us where I live. And yeah, and then as it progresses, I taper out of them. I just, you know, win out of them and I pull my next set out. But these are some of the ones that I'm wearing right now when it's the highest cold, like the super cold days for us. It'll end here soon by end of January, towards like middle of February we start to not, you know, get so many cold days. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Do you agree with me? What are your super cold weather piercing fragrances that cut right through cold weather? I want to know what you guys find to be projecting and lasting and performing the best in cold weather. Before I go, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and also don't forget to subscribe to my other channel all about makeup and other beauty stuff. It's Cleo Luxe Life. I need you guys to go over there. Only 100 of you have, you know, subscribed. I know there are more of you watching. Show some support, go on over there, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell. And even if you don't want to watch a lot of makeup content, which some of you aren't, because this is a fragrance channel for the most part, go on over there and subscribe. You never know what I might upload that you want to see. And also don't forget to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I will see you guys in my next video.